What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. We hope you're happy, safe, healthy, and that you have been enjoying the time since the Dallas Cowboys last played. The Cowboys, of course, on bye last week. Still 5-1, still in first place in the NFC. Still one of the very best teams in the National Football League. I think said first place in the NFC. I meant first place in the NFC East. I don't know what I'm saying. That's why I have gathered the best and brightest minds all around the world to talk America's team with me. It is time for our roundtable discussion, live roundtable discussion here on the Blog on the Boys YouTube channel. You can watch us live, participate in the comment section. We will podcast this conversation for you as well. Obviously, you can rewatch it, Blog on the Boys YouTube channel, Blog on the Boys Podcast Network. You can hear and see all of their wonderful faces all the time. Tom Ryle joining us here on the live show. We've got Tony Catalina, aka TC, and we have Dan Rogers, aka Danny Phantom. You can hear Dan and Tony every morning on Dallas Cowboys Roundup, our morning update show on the Block of the Boys Podcast Network. You can hear Tom Ryle every Thursday on Riled Up with Roy Wyatt, and you can read all of them at bloggingtheboys.com as they educate you on how to root for, what to enjoy when it comes to your Dallas Cowboys. Let's see here. We've got I Bleed Blue 365 says, let's do this. Majestic Detail asks if it is still Victory Polo Monday. It will be for most of this week when the Houston Astros win the World Series. And I Bleed Blue 365 adds, y'all are awesome. Let's do this. Dan, I start with you. I mentioned before we started the stream that I was going to ask you what you were having for dinner. Do you have an answer prepared?
I'm having enchiladas.
Okay, that's good. I support that. Tony said he was going to maybe have some tacos. So we got a nice little, Mexican cuisine happening here on the stream. Tom, you said you had taco bueno. So that's a 3-for-4 situation. I'm having brats, in hot dog buns. So I had to deviate from, what was happening here. But, the game's on. So got to be something quick, got to kind of, keep my hands free. Tom, how is your Tuesday evening going?
It's going well. I mean, it's been a really good bye week. It's nice when you can sit idle and gain half a game on your division.
Most of the division, to be fair.
Yeah, well, but they're still up 3.5 on everybody because they're all tied for last place in the division now at 2-5. And, it was a crappy week to watch football because there were a lot of clunkers out there and really strange games. But Thursday night should be interesting because somebody that the Dallas is in the running with for the top seed is going to go down.
We will get into that and certainly line up who we are rooting for. Maybe we'll argue. Maybe we'll disagree. Maybe we'll all be simpatico on the situation. Who knows? Tony, the reason I said it was almost a clean sweep for the Cowboys in Week 7 was because the New York Giants won. The whole world took their shots at the NFC East over the offseason, and the Dallas Cowboys clearly proving to be an exception to that norm. But the Carolina Panthers are one Washington football team loss away from being swept by the NFC East. It is tough times to be a Panthers fan.
Man, I think we figured them out. Once we beat them, it kind of just like it all unraveled for the Carolina Panthers team. And I felt really good about that win, how we came out in the third quarter. And they looked like a totally different team after that game.
Yeah, it's weird how, I think we would all agree, like the Chargers win for the Cowboys looks better and better just about every single week. But that Panthers win, losing a little bit of shine. So it is what it is. We do have several things to get into. We certainly would appreciate those of you that are watching along live to participate as well. Tom, you were the one that suggested this question for our roundtable. So if it sucks and nobody likes it, the blame is yours. Authority over teams post-bye. Again, the Cowboys visit the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football this week, so another opportunity to watch all of the red zone action on Sunday afternoon. After that, Tom, they will host the Denver Broncos and Atlanta Falcons in back-to-back home games before they head on out to Arrowhead to play a very surprisingly terrible Kansas City Chiefs team before returning for their Thanksgiving Day game against the Las Vegas Raiders to round out the month of December. Are you worried about the Cowboys having trouble pushing any of these teams around?
The Vikings is the only one. Make sure I'm on there. The Vikings is the only one that might concern me at this point because I'm not really sure. It's Kirk Cousins, and
so wait, Tom, I'm going to interrupt because so you're saying of the next stretch of games through the month of November, which includes the Chiefs and the Raiders, you're most concerned about the Vikings.
Well, the Raiders would be the one at the end that would. I think everything is pointing to. I'm not concerned about the Chiefs right now because they seem to be in a bit of a meltdown going on. They've got just a horrible defense right now, and I think Mahomes is trying too hard. So the Vikings game is also important because they're coming out of their their bye, and we want to see if they hit the ground running. The Cowboys have had some struggles in the past coming out of the bye, but the good thing is that this year things that used to happen in the past aren't necessarily happening the way they used to. This really seems like a different Dallas Cowboys team.
Dan, our friend Brandon Gouton from Bleeding Green Nation loves to make a big deal about the Cowboys playing on Thanksgiving every year. He believes that this is an advantage, that the Cowboys never have to travel for a short week Thursday game because they always get to play at home, obviously on Thanksgiving. But Tom said it. The Cowboys are playing the Minnesota Vikings coming off of their bye. So both teams in this game coming off their bye. In fact, last year, when the Cowboys visited the Minnesota Vikings, both teams were coming off of their bye. In 2018, when the Cowboys hosted the Tennessee Titans, their first game with Amari Cooper, both teams were coming off of their bye. So 3 of the last 4 years, the Cowboys have not had any sort of advantage that, this isn't necessarily the case for all 32 teams, Dan, but, the Cowboys have kind of been, drawing a short straw here when it comes to advantage after the bye. Your thoughts?
I don't think that I think it all evens out. Most teams are playing on Thursday night. So everyone has that Thursday night short week, long week to deal with. The Cowboys do have the back-to-backs, which it's still, there's no difference there because you're still a week apart between those 2 Thursdays. So I don't know. On any given year, they may have an advantage here, but I think in the long run, all that evens out.
Dan, by the way, you look like you are doing this show from Rob Stark's bedroom quarters within, the castle there in Winterfell. Tony, Donnie says on our live stream that he expects a slow start to the game against the Vikings, but they're also without Patrick Peterson, who is on injured reserve. But once the second quarter starts, things will pick up. If the Cowboys were to be slow, maybe we get like back-to-back punts. Twitter will be on fire, needless to say, Tony.
Without a doubt. And but like you said, it kind of to set up what you said there is it's interesting to see how they come out, right? This offense is the key and kind of like how the engine of this team, and can they get out there and kind of be seamless? It's a week. I feel like a lot of guys are happy about being able to do different things and recharge a little bit, and looks like there's some guys coming back. So how they do come out will be interesting to see, but ultimately I think they'll get back in rhythm, whether that be a series or 2, like you mentioned, and maybe the surprises come out like a gangbuster in the first series.
So nobody has really answered Tom's question, which again, Tom, I think shows how much it flopped as a subject for all of us here to discuss. Dan, you weren't asked the question in your defense.
Right.
So will the Cowboys have the same level of authority? Because we talked about Tony. I asked, it's really my fault, Tom, if I'm being honest. My poor job as a moderator. I'm like one of those when they have the political debates and like the person who's letting it like run away from them. People are like tweeting like for the person to, reel it in. That's on me. I'll be better. But Dan, do you think the Cowboys will be asleep at the wheel? Do you think that maybe they're a different team now? They lost momentum. Do you buy any of that?
No, I think they are a different team. I'm not worried about it. Actually, it's really weird. This is one of the few seasons that this team is like really come out and put it together every game. Sure, there are times where like they don't get in the end zone or they give up a 75-yard play. But if you look at it, each game, you don't ever feel like they're, asleep at the wheel. So I think they're going to come out fired up. They're ready to play. I'm excited about it. I'm not worried at all. I think you're going to see the same level of authority. Great question, Tom. And absolutely, the Cowboys are going to, keep it going.
Tom, Derek J's video says it will be the same story, just a different week. Cowboys will dominate. You're dominating, according to Dan. And this was actually how you phrased the question in our chat, Tom. Like, are we maybe too in? Are we just enjoying it too much? Like kind of like Game of Thrones. Like, are we on season 4? Like, this is the greatest show of all time. We're ready to say it now. Nothing could possibly derail this. And then lo and behold, the final season, destroys everything. I mean, is that a possibility? Like, could they come out and, maybe it's not the Vikings. Like, maybe they lose to the Broncos. You know what I mean? Like, obviously anything is possible. I mean, we're talking about a world where, that we talk Chiefs. The Tennessee Titans lose to the New York Jets, then in back-to-back weeks beat the Bills and the Chiefs. So, like, anything can happen. But are we in over our skis a little bit, Tom?
Well, I actually feel a little bit better about that after what the New England Patriots did to the Jets. Yeah, it's the Jets. But my gosh, they went off. The Patriots went off on them. So I'm thinking maybe we caught the Patriots at the beginning of the resurgence and beat them back. And, we still got a lot of football to play. But the Cowboys have been, they stood up against a couple of really good teams to start the season, pretty much controlled the next 3 games against some lesser teams. And then against Bill Belichick and what's still kind of an unknown quantity up in New England, they came out and pulled out an exciting win against some pretty bizarre circumstances that happened in the game and some very strange things that went on that made it harder to win for them than I think it should have been. So now they're coming out. They've got the Vikings, and then it looks like a couple of games that should be pretty easy for them again. So are they going to show up and play well against the better teams and roll over the lesser teams? I kind of think they will. I've always got a little bit of that imposter syndrome going on in my head that I deal with whenever I sit down and try to write something at Blogging the Boys. It's like, when are people going to figure out that I'm just some guy pounding away on his keyboard at random? But, this does not seem like an imposter of a team. I think they are prepared well. I don't want to reopen that whole can of worms, but Mike McCarthy and his staff seems to do a good job of preparing them every week. And I think they're going to come out. They're going to be prepared. We're not going to be thinking about Dak's calf after the first series. And it's just I think we're going to see, hopefully, them continue to build a resume that will carry them far into the postseason.
We've danced around it, kind of like when you write articles, Tom, there's no pounding. It's like a symphony, like a ballet. I mean, it's smooth, movement, like jazz. But you mentioned Dak's calf. The Mans comes in, wants to ruin the mood. Mans, no, I'm just kidding. Says, are any of you guys concerned about Dak even a little? This is a very fair question, Tony. I mean, I see tweets from Stephen Jones saying they're optimistic he'll play in week 8. And that's the general consensus. Anytime Stephen or Jerry have done their radio appearances on 105.3 The Fan, it has been I wouldn't say all sunshine and rainbows. There's been moderate optimism, rather cautious optimism. So, Tony, I'll ask you first, on a scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about the Dak Prescott calf situation?
If I had to put it in a number, I would say 4. Only
That's panic, dude. Wow. Oh my gosh. You didn't tell us this.
I'm freaking out, right? I'm freaking out. But, ultimately, as it sits on Tuesday and they haven't really had their first practice of the week yet, which will be tomorrow. And, I mean, if he comes out there and he's even limited on Wednesday, I'll feel a lot better about it. Like I said, I mean, nothing is giving us an indication that he's not going to be able to do this, right? But I just live in the realm of the holding my breath because we've seen what it looks like without him. In fairness, we did beat this Minnesota Vikings team without him last year, but I'm a little worried, but like only because there's so much unknown at the moment. And Steven and Jerry can be positive and say all these things on the radio, but at the end of the day, like, we'll see Wednesday and we'll see how the week progresses. So there is some worry for me.
So, Tony, you're at a 4. Donnie says I would go 2, and that's pushing it. Dan, I'm starting to get the sense from this season, like this season is showing its face to us and saying, you guys, you want this pretty ride. You want this, you got this brand new car. You don't want any mud, you don't want any dings. Guess what? It's a bumpy ride. We're going to have to stop for gas. You're going to spill some of the soda inside on the drive. Like you're going to have some wear and tear here, but you're going to get where you want to go. Is that the vibe that you're getting, Dan? Or am I being overly optimistic? What's your 1 to 10 number here? I mean, how do you feel?
My number is also 4, and
you guys are just freaking me out now, man.
So here's the thing so I'm a little concerned. I mean, everything we're hearing is all positive and fully expect him to start the game, but Zach Martin said something very interesting. I remembered he's talking about dealing with his calf injury. He's like, you think you're feeling good, and then all of a sudden you got a 300-pound lineman pushing back on you. And so, I mean, all it's going to take is Dak kind of rolling out to his right and just, throwing off that back foot, and then, maybe feel something. So we really don't know. And I think that the bigger part of the concern is I'm just scared of anything that does not involve Dak Prescott. I mean, because I don't have any faith in the Cowboys' backup plan. And so if you're talking about a bumpy road, I mean, that will be the bumpiest of roads is to play without four.
That really is an amazing point, Dan. And I think we would all agree, like when the ball is in Dak's hands, I feel like, I don't want to speak for any of you, but I feel like we all feel confident. We all feel like they've got a shot, right? Like Dak's in control, positive things can and will happen. But anytime something is involved that has nothing to do with that, it's holding your breath, because nobody has achieved that same level of trust. So in that sense, Tom, does that elevate where you're at 1 to 10, or are you a copycat? Are you at a 4 with these guys here? I mean, like, how are you feeling?
I'm a 2.
Let's go, Tom. Let's go.
And a couple things today kind of made me think that. One, that the renowned team physician, Dr. Jerry Jones, said that he was far more concerned about the shoulder than he was about the calf now. So, that to me is a good sign. Jerry rattles on, but he does kind of let us in on kind of what's floating around inside the building. I don't feel like the Cowboys have been as bad about gaslighting the injuries and the recovery, how well people are recovering this year, as we've seen them many times in the past. And then I just saw Dak looking very happy in that picture of the costumes he and his girlfriend apparently are wearing for Halloween on Twitter, where he's the lion tamer and she was the very cute lion in the high heel boots. And I don't see, he does not look at all concerned. I think he's going to be out there. He's going to be good to go. I think they will continue to protect him, make sure that they've got a lot of, quick reads for him. So if he needs to get rid of the ball in a hurry, he will. And, if he can get the protection he's been getting from the offensive line, and he's got the receivers, and, this could be the return of Michael Gallup, I think things are going to be all right. And, the only reason you have to be concerned is that every time your star quarterback takes the field, you have to worry a little bit, because something can happen in an instant. We know that all too well, and teams are seeing that all over the league.
That's a great point, Tom. And if you're, to be frank, we're all scared because we have a lot of scar tissue from last year, right? Like we know how precious this is, so to speak. I remember the night, this has nothing to do with injuries, but the night that Andrew Luck retired. There's a great, if you're a member of Cowboys Twitter, you likely follow Cassidy McWaugh. She had a great tweet that said, "Hug your franchise quarterbacks tight tonight," because it can go. You know what I mean? We've all, we learned that lesson with Tony Romo. It's a painful lesson to learn. But I mean, like, here we sit, this is, year 6 for Dak. You know what I mean? Like, it just flies by in the blink of an eye. I mean, like, something I like to look at time in a weird lens sometimes. We are the same amount of time removed from Dak Prescott's drafting as we were at the time of Dak Prescott's drafting from Tyron Smith's drafting. So, that's just a crazy way to kind of like put it in perspective. I think, it can go that quickly, 5 more years, obviously the Cowboys are going to win 5 Super Bowls, but it is what it is. DJ Dog 31 says, a confident Dak can tame any Lion or Viking for that matter. LOL. Great pun with obviously who the Cowboys are playing. There was another great tweet I saw today from friend of the show, Mina Kimes, talking, obviously Mina's a Seahawks fan, about last night, about Monday Night Football and how the Seahawks, Tony, were so kind of scared to let Geno Smith throw the ball. And her point was, look, if you're scared to let your backup quarterback throw the ball, why is that your backup quarterback? If that's going to be the guy who you're so willing to turn the offense over to when you have to in a moment's notice, why would you be limited? It should theoretically be somebody who you have that high level of faith in. So given that the trade deadline is next week, Tony, we'll see what happens obviously on Sunday, but this has served as a bit of a reminder that, nobody is, impervious to injuries in the NFL. Should the Cowboys address the quarterback 2 situation either before the trade deadline, after the trade deadline, during the trade deadline? Because I don't think any of us have any semblance of confidence in Cooper Rush.
The confidence, you're right, is not there, right? And but you kind of, I mean, just the point blank period, right? The confidence isn't there in the QB2. But like, what are you going to get, right? I mean, what do you expect? What is out there? And really, you're pulling a rabbit out of your hat. Like, what's going to happen? I mean, I think most teams in this league, without really doing a too deep a dive, is in some trouble if their quarterback goes down. Like you said with the Seahawks, if you can't just let him go out there and rip it a little bit, then why is he a backup quarterback? And I think every team has some type of, rail the offense in a little bit when you're playing with a backup quarterback, but you got to give a team a chance to win the game. And at the end of the day, if they're loading the box and saying, we dare you to throw a forward pass, like that's just not a good situation to be in. And should the Cowboys address it? If an opportunity presents itself, then I suppose. But I mean, like I said, what's out there? I mean, what can they do? They're going to have to get creative or just get Cooper Rush ready to go. That's really the two options.
Dan, I think the time to it. This is an issue. There's no denying that, right? If you power ranked, QB2s in the NFL, Cooper Rush might be in the bottom 10. There's an archetype of QB2 that I like, and I'm not like some visionary here. I think this is a really popular opinion, and I think the Cowboys went down that path last year. It's the somewhat still young guy who has some starting experience under his belt that in a moment's notice can come in, and if you have to go, a 3-game stretch or something, can keep the ship afloat. I think that, Andy Dalton could have done that. And I don't think he was ever built to be the guy for half a season, which is ultimately what wound up happening, obviously. But as an example, I loved the Buffalo Bills signing Mitchell Trubisky this past offseason. That's the guy. If Josh Allen goes down, the Bills are obviously likely doomed, but at least you got a guy who's been there, who's done that. Cooper Rush never has. And I think that, the Cowboys have made this bet. They made it in the offseason specifically. Is that how you feel, Dan? Because you were nodding when Tony was saying what's out there. And the reason is because we're asking the question in late October.
Right. And there's nothing out there is the answer. I mean, I was looking through backup quarterbacks, especially teams that could be looking to sell and maybe give their young quarterbacks. I mean, obviously, they're going to be getting the stats.
It would have been nice, sorry, Dan, to trade for Gardner Minshew at the beginning. Like, if you were going to, that was the last second move to make, I think, before the season began.
Yeah. So now where are they? I mean, I don't really know what. I mean, to answer your question, I would like to say, yeah, they should, because I'm certainly not happy with Cooper Rush. If that is their QB2, I don't even know what Will Greer is. The plans are for him. I mean, but I'm certainly scared of playing in any extended amount of time with Cooper Rush. But yeah, I don't know what else. There's just not good choices out there. I don't know. So to me, I feel like the Cowboys are stuck. This is it, and just hope for the best kind of thing. Because I really don't think there's great options out there. Yeah,
it does feel, again, they made this decision in March, and you could have had Colt McCoy, like that's the archetype to go for. I don't want to like disparage the Cowboys, but it's a little bit lazy, certainly a little bit arrogant to just kind of, Cooper Rush has been their backup quarterback for most of Cooper Rush's career at this point in time. Cooper Rush, an undrafted free agent in 2017, no NFL experience. I mean, Tom, we now live in a day and age where Mike White has more career passing touchdowns than Cooper Rush.
Or Derrick Henry.
Yeah, or Derrick Henry, or Cedric Wilson. By the way, Donnie King says QB2 is on the roster and his name is Cedric Wilson. I mean, Tom, is it? I mean, I think we all agree this is a problem or a situation that in a perfect world would be addressed, but the resources simply are not there. There's, anything you would be doing at this point would be a lateral move at best.
Yeah. And, I don't want to go all Marshawn Lynch here, so I'll be very careful in my phrasing. But, if you lose your starting quarterback, you're pretty much screwed. And that there's just
unless it's for that tiny duration, right? Like if he's gone for the whole season, like last year in the Cowboys, you're done. But if we saw the Chiefs with that in 2019 when they won the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes has to miss a small section of games. That's the only way you can survive, I think.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys is just betting on the fact that it's not going to be a long loss. Right now, getting into the playoffs looks like a certainty for the Cowboys. So they don't have to worry about risking that if Dak Prescott has to miss a couple games. And I think they're betting on Kellen Moore figuring out how to make something work and at least giving them a shot. if they have to go with Cooper Rush there at quarterback. And who knows? He may be able to figure out a way, especially if they happen to catch one of the teams that's really on a down year. Where they can still run the ball even without much of a threat of a passing game, and then maybe the run will open up so they can get a few short passes in for Cooper, get a little confidence built. I don't, there are no good answers, as we've kind of alluded to at this point. There aren't any options out there. They weren't willing to invest a whole lot in the offseason to fix it. So now they're just going to have to ride with what they got, I think. I don't see any immediate answers. I don't know who'd be willing. I mean, if somebody's got a decent backup quarterback to trade, why in the world would they trade him?
Yeah, I agree with that. Tony, you live in the New England area, so you can certainly speak to this. Kevin mentions here, I think you could get Cam for league minimum, and now he's vaccinated. That was a subject of, certainly discussion prior to that news becoming public a couple of weeks ago. I don't think Cam Newton's it. I mean, Cam Newton was not very good last year. I mean, and got beat out by Mac Jones. I mean, and we're starting to see why, as you mentioned, Tom. New England's kind of finding their footing a little bit with him. I'm in no universe am I trying to profess that Cooper Rush is a better option than Cam Newton, Tony. But I mean, I think Cam isn't just, right now, Cam or anyone otherwise, it's just not worth it to make a move. That's what it would be right now at this point.
I mean, with not even, like you said, it's Cam Newton or anybody else. There really isn't a move that you're like, okay, that might be worth bringing that in, or that might be worth whatever it comes with that. And, and you take that into fact, right? I mean, take that into your thought process. Cam Newton, the personality, is he going to be, how is he as a QB2? He'd be clearly entrenched as the QB2. And, do you really want a guy with such personality that would, short hop a wide receiver by 10 yards? But outside of that, any QB2 you're looking at, you got to put it. I mean, maybe they might be slightly better than Cooper Rush, but how fast do you have to get them up to speed for, inside the playbook? And is Cooper Rush just that much more mentally advanced in what Kellen Moore's looking to do offensively? And then you kind of just look at, like, how long does it take them? I mean, are we even confident Will Greer could get it done at this point? So it's just like, the Eagles made the move that I would have made. Gardner Minshew is exactly what I was looking for. You stole my thunder with it a couple minutes ago. But outside of that, you just roll with what you got.
I will say, just getting ahead of this, if we're to assume he's made available in free agency, the backup quarterback I want for the future for the Cowboys is Teddy Bridgewater. But, we'll cross that bridge, no pun intended, whenever we get to it in 2022, after the Cowboys have had their Super Bowl parade and whatnot and all that fun stuff. Dan, this subject has made its way through Twitter. It's made its way through the comment section at bloggingtheboys.com, Cowboys Reddit, all the fantastic, wonderful places where the Cowboys are discussed. Lyle Collins is going to be returning to the Cowboys. Well, we'll technically see, but will at least be returning to practice on Wednesday after serving his 5-game suspension. He has played one game for the Dallas Cowboys since the end of the 2019 season. Terrence Steele has played very well, which Dan has inspired a debate. At right tackle, Lyle Collins or Terrence Steele, who are you choosing and why?
So I'm going to go a different direction here. First off, I would
Connor
disclaimer. No, not that far. I'm going to say, like, if I had to choose right now, I'm taking LC. But having said that, I want to talk about the possibility of it being Terrence Steele. Lyle Collins is a great tackle. I mean, 2019, he played extremely well. And if we have that player, this is not even a conversation. But, a lot's happened since 2019. He's with a hip injury and conditioning, and also Steele has started to rise up. He's getting better and playing well. I think the thing that worries me is that McCarthy is a little bit like, he seems unsure of himself. And the fact that this is something that we're talking about makes me think that there's some questions that the coaching staff themselves have with, I know they're saying right now it's a conditioning thing. We just want to kind of see how he does. But I don't know. I just feel it's still LC for me, but I feel like they're a little closer than the average Cowboy fan would suggest. So that's where I am with that. It's still Collins for me, but Steele's right there waiting.
Tom, do you think it's really a competition in the minds of the Cowboys? Or, like, you joked about Jerry Jones and his diagnosing abilities and how he's been, in that realm in the public for the last, 30 years. But McCarthy is a little bit more like, shut up and don't tell anybody what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? And so some coaches do put stock into the idea of like their public comments, throwing their opponents off. I want to make them prepare for anything. So do you think this is that? Do you think that they have a hard decision? Do you think they've already made the decision? Like, what's your take?
I think the only decision is Collins ready to go? Is there a conditioning issue? Does he need another week before they're ready to put him out there on the field? When he's up to football fitness levels, then yes, you go with Lyle Collins, and then make him prove that they need to switch back. I'm thrilled at the thought of Terrence Steele developing into what looks like a really good swing tackle for the Cowboys. And, that means that they're not going to have to worry about it, I think, next year. But I just think that Collins gives you more, that he is more of an impact player who can go out there and dominate defensive ends and can also give you a lot in the running game. And so I want the best guys out there. And I think right now that barring any evidence that we're not privy to, Collins is your best option to put out there.
Tony, I want to give you the harder part of this question because Dan and Tom are cool. So I wanted to make this difficult for you. You're cool too, Tony. But DJ Dog 31 brings up a great point. And I think I think you're going to speak for all of us. DJ Dog says Collins has been in the facility for weeks now. He has been allowed to be in the facility for weeks. He better be in shape by now. Lyle Collins, Dan mentioned it. After the 2019 season, everybody was talking. Cowboys got way ahead on this. They were so smart, gave him the deal. They look like geniuses. After missing after missing all of last season, Lyle Collins lost a lot of favor with Cowboys fans. And I do think that the combination of factors, everything that's led to this point with Lyle specifically, and the seemingly emergence of Terrence Steele, albeit a smaller sample size, has led people to say, you know what? If the Cowboys want to walk away in 2022, fine. I don't want to deal with this anymore. Best of luck to you, Lyle. The Cowboys have given you 2 contracts after you went undrafted, and obviously we all know that story. I mean, do you think that Lyle has to kind of earn back some, I don't want to say favor or love or admiration or currency? I mean, like it does to some degree feel like he's playing for his future job with the Cowboys at least.
It's crazy what a month has done, right? I mean, I remember sitting on this exact show, in the preseason, or not even the preseason, about a month or so
Tom
ago.
was the one who panicked. I never panicked, to be very clear.
I'm sitting on this very show saying Zach Martin needs to be a team player and kick out the right tackle because we don't know what we got in Terrence Steele. Now we're saying for sure we got the swing tackle of the future. Should he be taking Lyle Collins' job? It's just funny what a month can do, and that's a testament to what Terrence Steele has been able to do with his opportunity. All that being said, the talent gap it's there, right? I think everyone agreed that Lyle Collins is the more talented player. I think if he's up to what we think he can be, he is an upgrade at the position, which is awesome in an offense that has been clicking without Michael Gallup and without their starting right tackle. Terrence Steele, to me, in my eyes, puts Ty Secchi more of a bind than anything else, right? I think Lyle Collins is your starting right tackle. That's the short answer, right? And yes, he does have to earn it because he's been off the field more than he's been on it. So there is some, there's some apprehension there, but at the same time, talent trumps, and this kid can play. And if he looks like what he can be or what he has looked like, then they've upgraded a position that really wasn't that much of a downgrade as the season. I mean, Terrence Steele has been playing solid. I think Lyle Collins can be in that upper echelon of right tackles. There's a difference there, right?
Yeah. It's amazing, to your point, Tony, how much things change. I want just a name answer from each of you. Dan, the starting right tackle for the Dallas Cowboys week 1, 2022 is who?
Lyle Collins.
Tom.
Lyle.
Tony.
Lyle.
Y'all are so boring. Like, nobody wants to make any waves. Nobody wants to do anything fun, but hey, Cowboys have seemingly gotten an incredible future lifeline at the very least in Terrence Steele, which is very, very nice to see. Okay, we'll move on from Lyle, Terrence Steele, since all you guys are chalk, all you guys are boring, whatever, blah, blah. Hopefully this inspires some debate. You mentioned it. I forgot who mentioned it. I think it was you, Tom. So we'll go to you first, Tom. Thursday night, the Arizona Cardinals, the undefeated Arizona Cardinals, will host the Green Bay Packers. You know, I know you guys all got a lot of stuff going on in your own lives. Think about Joe Buck's week, man. Joe Buck's got to call the World Series. He's got to go to Arizona. He's got to call Thursday Night Football. He's going to go from Houston to Arizona to Atlanta. I mean, he is just putting some serious miles on the old, you know, Southwest account or whatever. So, Tom, Thursday Night Football, when we get a break from baseball, Arizona Cardinals, Green Bay Packers, who do you want to see win for the benefit of the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, do you want me to come up with a Skip or Stephen A response? Because that seems to be what you're kind of trying to pull us for here.
No, Tom, I'm just, you know, we all think the same, which is really nice and cool at its core. All right, so go ahead.
Well, to me, I would prefer to see Green Bay win just to get the Cowboys a chance to be tied in the loss column with the Cardinals. I don't think they're going to, because
we lost your internet, Tom.
Oh no. You can't hear me? Can anybody hear me?
I can hear him.
I can hear.
You can hear me? Yeah, okay. Maybe we lost RJ's internet.
We may have lost RJ, but continue your point, Tom.
Now, I was going to say that I know that the Green Bay Packers are having a problem with COVID right now on their team, and the line has been moving out in Vegas right now. So I think that the Cardinals are likely to win this one, but like I said, I would kind of like to see the Cardinals get a win or get a loss on the record, and that would give the Cowboys a chance to be challenging for that number one seed. And we just have to hope that Green Bay would pick up a loss or two somewhere down the road, because I don't know quite how it would shake out. I think that would give, unfortunately, Green Bay the tiebreaker for the number one seed. So, you know, but it's neither one. A tie might be the best thing. I don't know. But, you know, I really think that the best outcome for the Cowboys would be for the Packers to win, but it's just like by a hair in this case.
So first of all, apparently I was gone for a moment. So glad to see everything still good. You know, nothing's on fire. But Tom, seriously, ride the fence more, dude. You know, I mean, I want to see a good football game between two good teams, and you know, whatever.
I don't think it's necessarily going to be that way if the COVID problems keep cropping up for Green Bay. So right now, that's why I think the Cardinals are going to win. I think, you know, looking forward, I'd want to see Green Bay win, and then take our shot down the road to see if somebody else can overtake them and the Cowboys can keep winning.
Dan, you wrote something this past week at the site that I certainly agree with, about how the top, look, we all want the bye, right? Like in a perfect world, the Cowboys get the bye. They're the one seed. The Cowboys have everything. They're awesome. You know, they have the perfect weather for all their games and everything. But I think the wider goal, the more attainable goal, is to be one of the top three seeds, because you don't, if you're the Cowboys or if you're anyone, want to see the loser of the NFC West in the wild card round. So what's your take here, Dan? Because you obviously fear the Cardinals to a certain degree. Because I think there's logic. I get what Tom is saying, but there's logic to saying, you know what? Let the Cardinals be the one seed. Just let them run away with it, right? And we're the Cowboys. We'll create our own bye. We'll win the NFC East by week 14, and we'll rest up. Maybe we even take that Cardinals game off, and we kind of influence things ourselves, and we let, you know, we kind of let the cards, no pun intended, fall where they may in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that the first thing that you need to ask yourself before answering this question is, you know, would you rather attack for the one spot or ensure you don't get the 4? And I mean, the 4 is just terrible. And
that's my priority number one, is ensuring you're not the 4. I care more about that than I do the 1 seed personally.
Right. So I understand the logic behind, let's let the Cardinals have this. And but I'm actually going to be rooting for Green Bay, and it's more so because Green Bay's got a lot of difficult teams on their schedule, and Arizona, not so much. In Tampa Bay, especially not. So those teams are really, they have it easy. Whereas the Packers, they got a lot of teams with winning records still on their schedule. In fact, and even the Chiefs, which don't have a winning record. So I'm not worried about Green Bay getting their losses. So if they can pull off an upset, let's go for the one spot, and then but then make sure we definitely want to ensure ourselves we do not get that dreaded 4 spot. So I'll be rooting for Green Bay Thursday.
Hard to disagree with you, Dan. It makes sense, especially. I know this is a weird take, but I love the 72 Dolphins. I love that they're the only team in NFL history that are undefeated. I never, ever want to see that toppled. So I'm always rooting for the last undefeated team to fall from that sense as well. Tony, Derek J's videos comes in and says, for the playoffs, I would rather go to Arizona and Green Bay. So I want Arizona to win. I'm going to switch the question up for you a little bit, Tony. Now, everyone who's watching this, or maybe watching it after the fact, watching it live, maybe if you're listening to this, we do podcast the roundtables as well. You can listen to them on the Blogging the Boys podcast network. If you are listening to it on our podcast, the latest episode in your feed was an episode of the 750 with myself and the birthday boy, another Tony C, actually, Tony Casillas. Something that Tony and I posited, Tony, was a hypothetical. So I'll ask it to you, Tony, and I'm going to come to you, Dan, and Tom next. So don't think that you're out of the woods here. Hypothetically speaking, the Cowboys are the 3 seed in the NFC. Who do you want to be the top 2 seeds? In what order? Who do you want to see as the 1 seed? Who do you want to see as the 2 seed? We're presuming that the loser of the NFC West is the 4 seed. But so how do you want to see that shake out, Tony? Because obviously that affects future rounds of the playoffs.
We have a bad history in Green Bay. And so I don't.
So you're scared. Wow. Embarrassing.
I'm not. Actually, I was going to take your point and what you were saying about it in a couple episodes ago is I'm okay with Arizona being 1 and I'm okay with Green Bay being 2 because I think we're going to have to exercise our demons against Green Bay eventually at some point, like you said, with your dream scenario. And we go and we beat Green Bay to kind of get that monkey off our back. So in my eyes, it's Arizona 1, Green Bay 2. I'm not afraid to go to Arizona. I mean, I'm just not. I think Green Bay is an inevitable thing that we're going to have to, conquer at some point if we want to get to where we want to go. But as far as those 2 teams, I kind of want to see, I want to just answer your question. Yes, Arizona 1, Green Bay 2, but I want to see Green Bay win this game specifically to knock Arizona down a peg because everything that Green Bay is going through, if they are to win this game, I think Arizona would be a little demoralized and understand that wow, they were missing their top 2 receivers and all the things that Green Bay went through. I just want Arizona to be maybe we're not as real as we think we are. And then, I don't know, I'm just looking at it from a different perspective.
The opposite end of that spectrum, Tony, is that Aaron Rodgers collects the final infinity stone of I went to Arizona without Devontae Adams, without Alan Lazard. I beat them. I am that powerful, which is a terrifying reality to consider. Now, Tom, I agree with Tony, and that's what the other Tony and I said on the show was ideal world is Arizona 1, Green Bay 2. But that's why I think if you're a Cowboys fan, you have to root for the Cardinals in this game because the Buccaneers in this dream hypothetical are the 4 seed. I don't think any of us see a reality where Dallas outwins against the Bucs, and the Bucs have the tiebreaker over the Cowboys by virtue of beating them in week 1. So I think then, Tom, if that's what you want, I'm curious what your dream 1 and 2 are in this hypothetical are. If that adjusts your thinking, if you really want Arizona and Green Bay to be the top 2 seeds with the Cowboys being 3, I think you have to root for the Cardinals then.
Yeah, but I don't want Green Bay to be one of the top 2 seeds
because
I don't want to have anything to do with going to Green Bay in January.
You don't want the vindication. You don't want that. You just want to squash them when it's all done.
Yeah, I just don't want to have to go up to Green Bay and play in the cold weather. I'd rather go face Tampa Bay or the Cardinals in their home.
So you want that's who you want to see as the 1 and 2 seeds, Tampa and Arizona.
Yeah, I think that would be a better situation for the Cowboys and actually for everybody.
To press on this, Tom, just a bit. I think because I agree with Tony. I think that the Buccaneers are a better team than the Packers, which is why I would like to see the Packers get the seed. But you're saying the power of the narrative, the power of the juice of it all is maybe something that tilts things in favor of Green Bay potentially.
No,
and so you'd rather go to Tampa.
I'm talking about the power of the frozen tundra. I don't want the cold.
John Facenda has entered the chat. Respect.
Yeah. I don't want to see the Cowboys go up and play in that mess. I don't like the Cowboys as a cold weather team with that much on the line. You want as much working for you as possible. That's just, and that would not necessarily be the deciding factor. I just want to get as many things in the favorable column as you can. And the Cowboys are a warm weather or indoor team primarily.
Okay, Dan, you have had some, for the podcast audience, I haven't been able to see it, but the YouTube audience has. You've had some physical reactions to Tom. You look like you're on SNL, with all this stuff going on here. So, Dan, how do you feel? Do you think Tom's out of his mind? Is Tom a big old scaredy cat here, not wanting to go to Green Bay? Like, how do you feel?
Well, it's okay to be scared, but so a couple things. Speaking of being scared, I don't want to see Tom Brady in the playoffs ever. At all, ever. I mean, so he's pretty good in the playoffs. We know that. So I just assume not have it be Tampa Bay. I would love for it to be Green Bay. I think it would be a great story. I think it would give McCarthy a chance to get that Infinity Stone thingy, whatever.
Dan, don't act like you haven't seen the Marvel movies.
Let's not go there because I don't want to answer that. But I would love that. I mean, to get that whole Green Bay monkey off our back, and it'd be great for McCarthy to beat Rodgers, and it'd be great for Cowboy fans. And I also think Green Bay is the inferior team of this group. So, I mean, I would love to see the Packers the number 2 spot.
I agree. My dog's name is Bear, and so he hates the Packers. I mean, it goes without saying. Tony, you also not in agreement though. Like you're not scared of the Packers. Or you kind of want the challenge?
I mean, I understand and I respect what Aaron Rodgers is. As the team as a whole, I've seen them play incomplete games. I think we can score. I think we can go blow for blow with them. At the end of the day, we can score in the defense. And eventually, to get where you want to go, you're going to have to beat good football teams. You can't just keep kicking the can down the road. You're going to eventually have to square up against some of these guys, and you're going to have to punch them in the face. And if that's Aaron Rodgers, I mean, think about the gauntlet of teams you're going to have to face. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Kyler Murray's playing out of his mind. So no matter who you're going to play, whatever we have a type of team that we can go into a cold weather situation and pound the rock with our offensive line and our running back. So maybe I'm riding high, I'm drinking the blue Kool-Aid, but there really isn't a team I'm too afraid of. I mean, have they given us any indication this year through 6 games that we can't beat anybody in any situation?
I don't think so. And I don't think anyone disagrees with that. But I think it's interesting that none of you, and nobody in the comments at least either, in their hypothetical dream answer, Tom, said that you want to see the Rams as one of the top 2 seeds. Like, do you maybe view the Rams then as better than the Cardinals? Like, so you don't want to go see the Rams? What I'll posit to you, Tom, on a recent episode of Cowboys Cast on the Blogging the Boys podcast network, Bobby Belt had me on, and we kind of devised what would be the dream story arc for the Cowboys in the playoffs. And we talked about a wild card win over the Rams, because then you get your McCarthy versus Sean McVay. You know what I mean? Like you kind of, you beat the young hotshot guy. I think it would be appropriate for that game to happen in Los Angeles. I know it wouldn't if the Cowboys win the division, but I mean, Jerry Jones is the reason why that stadium is in Los Angeles. So there would, granted the Super Bowl's there, so maybe that's your kind of check off that box, to beat the Rams in the wild card round, to then in the divisional round, as I've outlined, as you mentioned, Tony, go to Green Bay, exercise those demons, defeat Aaron Rodgers with the head coach he ran out of town, and then in the NFC Championship game to go back to Tampa Bay. I know you're scared about that, Dan, but Dak Prescott told Tom Brady after the week 1 loss, we'll see you again. We'll be back here. To kind of go do that, I mean, to run through that and then to get to the Super Bowl and be, I don't know, the Buffalo Bills for pure total 90s nostalgia, Tom. I mean, like, tell me you don't want to buy that DVD, Tom.
Yeah, to me, I think it would be a lot more fun if the Rams pushed the Cardinals into the wild card. That would be really, I think, fun and would really kind of open things up. We're early enough in the season that the narratives are still a little bit premature. We don't, are the Cardinals really the best team? They got the best record. Are they really the best team?
Answer the question.
Okay, what was the question again? Exactly.
No. I'm saying your question. Are the Cardinals the best team? Do you believe that they are? Are they the best team in the NFC?
I am not sure. I kind of suspect that.
I say
think the
no.
best.
My outright answer is no.
I mean, I know that a lot of people are going to say this is a homer, but I think it's between the Cowboys and the Bucks.
I don't think you're wrong, Tom. I mean, Dan, who's the best team in the NFC?
That's really hard. I mean, I think it is. The Rams are good. I mean, I'm almost as scared of the Rams as I am Arizona. So I guess my answer is Arizona. I mean, they did really lay it to the Rams. So I mean, both teams are really good on both sides of the ball, and that's just really scares me. I don't know. The only thing that I really care about is if one of them's 1 and one of them's 5, and we're somewhere in the 2-3, we only have to see one of them, and it will be in the NFC Championship. So, and I don't care who's 1 and who's 2. Just don't give me both.
That's true. You guys are all right. I mean, you guys are all wonderful and perfect human beings, if we're being totally honest. Tom, I interrupted you, so I'll give you this one first. What is one thing you were pleased about that you didn't think you would be at the beginning of the season?
I've got to go with depth. I remember how the Cowboys just got torn up last year, and I felt good about the starting team, especially on offense. I felt there was going to be improvement on defense, but I thought they were really going to be kind of scrambling to make sure they had 11 good starters on defense. And they kind of were going to depend on the offense staying healthy. And lo and behold, look at the people they have missed so far in getting to 5-1. The depth has become a real strength of this team, and it started showing up so fast. When you went in with Neville Gallimore was out of the lineup, and right off the bat things started to kind of look like that they actually were going to be able to line up and play with whoever was on the field with whatever they were bringing to the field that day, and that to me has been just remarkable. And yeah, Terrence Steele has been a big part of that since we talked a lot about him. He stepped up and showed that he was a much better player than he was last year. And that was what we were kind of hoping for, but not really believing was going to happen. And here we are. Michael Gallup goes down, and well, first off, when you've got Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb still on the field, you're not in bad shape. But Cedric Wilson has done a pretty credible job coming in and giving them a few plays every week, including a game-saving catch against the Patriots. He stepped up when they needed him to. You had Donovan Wilson out for so much of it. Who would have dreamed that they would manage to come up with a workable safety room in his absence when they've had such bad safety play for so long? And it just on and on and on. They didn't even need Jalen Smith, as it turned out. The depth just has really, to me, been something I did not see coming. And yeah, I'm completely in the opposite camp on that where I was back in August.
Well, Tom, that answer is going to be hard to top, but Tony, Dan, I suppose you should try. So Tony, what is one thing you can't use Tom's? What is one thing you are pleased about that you did not think you would be when the season started?
I'm just kind of pleased with the resolve this team has. Kind of just the demeanor, their fight. I think we've all said it, whether it be in our articles or in these roundtables, that like there's been moments in games in this season where you're like, all right, an older team or a team in past would fold in this situation, or they wouldn't be able to overcome this. And look at how many times they've proven us wrong in 6 games. So I've just been super impressed with just like the swagger this team has, and it may come with, that inner confidence or some of the free agent pickups they've had, and like Jaron Kearse, like they just play tough. They play aggressive. I guess I'm more impressed, or, I didn't know what their fight would look like. And I know that Dak is their heart and soul of this team. And I know that they kind of go as he goes, but just to kind of see, like, the Cowboys sideline audio mic'd up that we get to hear, and just hearing Jaron Kearse, who's been there, 2 months? Like, the guy's just been on the team, and he just gathers the troops and says, this is we got to tighten up right now. Where was that before? And he wasn't even on the team last year. So I just love who they've become, and I love kind of just how they've handled themselves and through adversities thus far this year.
That's well said, Tony. There's kind of a this is a bit of an oxymoron, but a bit of a vulnerable confidence with this team. And one of the best moments in the Sounds from the Sideline videos you're talking about was Anthony Brown, of all people. It's maybe emblematic of the point. On the sideline as the game was getting tense, man, if we can win this, this will be a huge confidence boost. Like, to say that out loud, there's a level of vulnerability to being able to say that, but also a level of confidence to kind of speak it into existence that way. So very interesting. Dan, you got two tough contenders here. I mean, there's one that's better than the other, for being honest, but I mean, two tough contenders. What are you pleased by?
Has anyone said depth?
Tom did, and then Tony kind of did. So
what about resolve and demeanor?
Tom also did, and then Tony did. So okay. Tom casted a really wide net that really kind of cheated and made this game difficult for everybody. But so, Dan, I know you're in a tough spot. But what makes your heart happy right now?
I'm going to choose something more specific, and I'm really pleased with the Cowboys' ability to stop the run. And that way I can kind of credit a few different people. And obviously with the great job that Quinn's done. We were really terrible last year at stopping the run. And right now we're middle of the road, and it's, we're not great, but we're pretty good. We're actually top 5 in rushing yards allowed, but that's just because teams don't choose to run us. But just on yards per attempt, we're right in the middle. And that was something that just really was terrible to watch last year. We're just getting trucked, every game, and it was just really bad. So I'm just really happy with the play of our interior defensive line. The guys are doing a great job there, and the linebackers. And like Tom said, even without Jalen, I just think that they've done a great job of correcting that huge deficiency that they had last year. And I think that so many other things play off of that. So that to me is one of the things that I'm really pleased about this season.
That's a really good answer. And the only person who chose something specific. So extra credit to you in that capacity, Dan. They diagnosed a weakness. They attempted to fix it. They are not perfect. Nobody is, but they have what we've all said, some version of, if this defense can be just average, this defense can just do their job, the whole team will sing, and that's exactly what's happening. Tom, you had the best answer, but you did not ask me for
RJ. We haven't heard your answer, and we want to know.
Tom is trying to
win.
RJ
thinks.
So my answer almost has nothing to do with the Cowboys, but it is an answer nonetheless. So I obviously root for the Houston Astros, and so I'm excited for the World Series, but I also root for Manchester United, who got destroyed last week. And if anyone's not a soccer fan, brief 101 on this: Manchester United has Cristiano Ronaldo back on their team. Their manager is a former player of theirs, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who played with Cristiano Ronaldo when Ronaldo was, in his heyday originally with Manchester United. Kind of a reserve player, had some great moments while Ronaldo was the superstar. And now I think the club is at a point where, Ole can't necessarily thrive as the manager. How can you thrive? How can you thrive when the guy who was the superstar in front of you is on your team now? To be fair, we do see, Kellen Moore thrive, despite the fact that he backed up Dak Prescott. Maybe that's an outlier sort of situation here. But I'm pleased by Mike McCarthy in that sense. Now, I don't want to disparage Jason Garrett. That's not the point behind my answer. But I do think there's something to the fact of Jason Garrett growing up in the organization, and the Joneses seeing him as this, maybe call it a kid, call it a young adult, call it a maturing person. I think it's difficult to get over that. How many changes have we seen instituted under Mike McCarthy? And I'm not saying like all changes are good, all changes were necessary, but McCarthy has been this person who has walked in with a resume and has one of my favorite things that McCarthy has done this year, and I know this is really small and insignificant, was we talked about Terrence Steele. The Chargers game when Jerry Jones went on the radio on 105.3 The Fan and said Terrence Steele is going to be starting the right tackle. Like 10 minutes later in his press conference, Mike McCarthy came out and said, yeah, we haven't made any decision yet. I could have never in my mind imagined Jason Garrett openly, publicly countering something that Jerry Jones would have said like that. And so I think sometimes you need that outsider to come in. And Mike McCarthy is an outsider in a lot of senses, but I'm pleased with that. I'm pleased that the results of that, this is the best version of those results. Does that make sense, Tom?
Yeah, and I pulled out of you the answer I was hoping one of the other guys would come up with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was, Mike McCarthy people are still just all over him about the
time management,
the time
clock
management.
Yeah, totally agree.
The man has changed the character of this team. He's like kept some of the good things that Garrett had and has brought in a bunch of other good stuff that works well with them. There's a focus on that character, on playing for each other still, that Garrett tried to bring to the team. But McCarthy seems to have actually made it all work better. And I still think he is getting less credit than he would if he was almost anywhere else. And part of that's just that Dallas spotlight and all that stuff. But yeah, thank you for coming up with that one, RJ.
Thank you, Tom, for the opportunity. Dan, I mean, earlier today, I tweeted out some odds, for different things, Coach of the Year among them. The following coaches have better odds than Mike McCarthy for Coach of the Year. Cliff Kingsbury, I don't think that's shocking. Brandon Staley has obviously been awesome for the Chargers. Zach Taylor, again, no doubt about that, what he's done with the Bengals. Sean McVay, again, the Rams are great, but, he's kind of arrived. Obviously, Mike McCarthy's won a Super Bowl. Sean McDermott, whose Buffalo Bills have now lost 2 games. Mike McCarthy, Dan, has the same odds as Kevin Stefanski and Mike Vrabel. Do you feel like that's fair? Like, are Tom and I too far in the pro-McCarthy category here?
Yeah, I think maybe you're a little bit too far. If you're asking me, which you are, I think it's fair. I mean, with Coach of the Year, it's usually, coming off a bad season, having a good season. Like the year that Garrett won it, I mean, I didn't even think that was his best season as coach. So, I mean, I don't know. To me, those things are kind of, they're not indicative.
There's some fluky narrative involved. I totally agree with you. And generally, like what I was stunned by was that Kevin Stefanski had the same odds. Generally, coaches don't win it multiple times in a handful of year span. And so to have Kevin Stefanski, the reigning winner, have the same odds as McCarthy, it is what it is. By the way, really quickly, Dan, DJ Dog points out, we did have Bob Stern from The Ticket, The Athletic, on the Blogging the Boys podcast network last week, talking all about Mike McCarthy and how people should give him his due. So you can go listen to that in the Blogging the Boys podcast network. But Dan, carry on.
Yeah, I think for McCarthy to rise up those odds, I think, he's really got to, cut out these mistakes that are really, people notice those things, and they're just kind of a little bit more, they just stand out. It's, it's kind of like when Romo made mistakes, it was always on prime time or something. And, and it just completely created this narrative that he was not as good as he really was. And
right.
So, I mean, so those things
exacerbated the point. I agree with you.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, but I think if the Cowboys continue to win, then, he's going to keep building up his stock. And I mean, because really that's what it comes down to. I mean, if your team is winning, you're doing something right. And McCarthy does deserve credit. I mean, he's the glue that's holding this together. I mean, he's got a lot of great pieces. Don't get me wrong. A lot of pieces I love, but I mean, he's still, he's got everything together. And I mean, McCarthy's fine. I mean, I'm okay with McCarthy.
Tony, as we wrap up here, I mentioned the Cowboys and Vikings were both on their bye prior to their game in Minnesota last year. That game was the game right before when Mike McCarthy smashed watermelons, and we heard about it and everything. Do you anticipate anything like that happening? Do you want to go on record? Do you think he's doing it again? And we'll hear about that story. Like, you could totally see, as Sunday Night Football is getting ready to kick off, Michelle Tafoya is doing her sideline hit, and she talks about the story. She says, yeah, last night he smashed some pineapples. Like, do you think we're getting anything like that, Tony, or is that all in the past?
I think he's got that in the bag somewhere down the road if they get into a little slump or a little sluggish. But right now, I think they're just so motivated and so driven on what they got going on. And I think a little bit with the quarterback. I don't think you need to smash a watermelon to get Dak Prescott ready to go. So I think that's the huge difference between this year and last year. But don't think that isn't in his bag somewhere for for later in the year.
That's true. It could be like a smash glass in case of emergency sort of thing to rile people up. That's funny. Okay. So thank you everybody for joining our live roundtable. We will podcast this as mentioned on the Blog of the Boys podcast network, where you can hear all of these beautiful baritone voices. Tom Ryle is on Twitter at TomRyleBTB. Tony is on Twitter at Tony_Catalina. Thinks he's fancy with the underscore. It's difficult. You have to hit shift and find the right key. I don't like it whatsoever. Dan Rogers makes it nice and simple for you on Twitter at DannyPhantom24. Shout out, of course, to Everson Walls. Follow Blog of the Boys on Twitter at Blog of the Boys. And most importantly, have a great day, because that's what we want for you. Tom, the last word belongs to you. One single word. It better be great. If it's not, we're all going to be upset for the next week. So Tom Ryle, final word. Go.
Wave.
Later, everybody.